Conversations with my son. Next part. It's called I Shall Make a Universe Girl Happy. I looked at my son, who could read and had revealed to me the most extraordinary and probably the livingest book in the world. I realized it would take a very long time to read it in its entirety. Besides, I would need to know the names of all the plants. But for some reason, I had a good feeling in my heart just from the fact that it existed. This book with all sorts of happy letters, the way my son expressed it. And he will read it. But what then? What will happen when he grows up? He said he would be like me. That means he'll go into our world. Into a world full of war, drugs, violent crime, and poisoned water. Why should he go there? And yet he's got himself ready for it. He's ready to go into our world when he grows up and do something good in it. I wonder what. I asked him, Vladimir, when you grow up, what kind of task or job do you think will be the most important for you? Mama Anastasia told me, first and most important when I grow up is, I need to make a particular universe girl happy. Who? What kind of universe or girl? Every living girl on the earth is the likeness of the universe. At first, I did not understand this. Then I read the book, and I understood. Every girl is like the universe. Every girl has within her all the diverse energies of the universe. Universe girls should be happy, and I must make sure to make one of them happy. And how do you intend to carry out your project when you grow up? I shall go where many living people are and find her. Who? A girl. She will, of course, be extraordinarily beautiful. Probably, but perhaps she will be a bit sad, and not everybody will think that she is beautiful. Perhaps she will be someone who is ill. Where you live, Papa, many people are ill from anti-living conditions. And just why would you pick a girl who is not the healthiest and most beautiful? I am the one, Papa, who will make her the happiest and healthiest and most beautiful universe girl. But how? Though by that time when you're grown up, you'll probably have learned how to make another person, your girl, happy. But Vladimir, you don't know everything there is to know about the world in which I live. It could turn out, after all, that the girl you pick may not even want to talk with you. You know who today's girls notice? You don't know. I'll tell you. The pretty ones and the not so pretty, the sick and the healthy, they notice first and foremost the men who have heaps of money and a car. Men who dress smartly and have a good social position. Not all of them, of course, but the majority are that way. And where are you going to get heaps of money? Heaps? How much is that, Papa? Well, for example, let's say at least $1 million. Better still, $1 million. You know about currency units? Mama Anastasia told me about the scraps of paper and coins which people love. She said people give out clothes and food and all sorts of things in exchange for them. They do, but where do they get this money? Do you know? To get this money, you have to work somewhere. No, working isn't enough if you want a lot. You have to get into a business or invent something. For example, Vladimir, you could really invent something people need, something they're really missing. And what kind of invention are people missing the most, Papa? What kind? Well, all sorts. A lot of regions are being hit by an energy crisis, for example. There's not enough electric power. People don't want to build nuclear power plants. They're dangerous, they can explode, but they can't get along without them. Nuclear, where radiation from them can kill people and growing things? You know about radiation? Yes, it is everywhere. It's energy. It's good, needful. Only it should not be collected in a large quantity in one place. Grandfather taught me how to control radiation. Only it must not be talked about openly. Some people turn good radiation into weapons and kill other people. Yes, better not talk openly about it. I should think you would really be able to invent something and earn a good deal of money for your girl. Perhaps I shall be able to, but money does not make people happy. And what do you think makes people happy? The space that they make for themselves? I pictured to myself my son becoming a young man, maybe knowing a lot of unusual things, all sorts of phenomena, albeit naive, capable of coping even with radiation, but still naive in respect to the intricacies permeating our lives. And there he'll be, off to look for his girl to make her happy. He'll try not to stand out amidst other people. That was always Anastasia's strategy when she left the taiga and went out among people. He will try not to stand out, yet all the same, he will never be able to completely blend in. He's preparing himself. He's acquiring a colossal amount of knowledge. He's trying to become physically fit, and all for the sake of one lonely girl. I thought Anastasia would prepare our son for great deeds, and to this end, would share her own knowledge and abilities with him. And now it turns out that he sees a man's main goal in life is simply making just one woman happy. My son's convinced that every woman is the likeness of the whole universe. Could it really be like that? An extraordinary philosophy, but in any case, the point is, my son is convinced of it, and one of his chief aims in life will to make just one girl happy, a girl he doesn't even know. Maybe she hasn't even been born yet. Maybe she can crawl already, or she's just taking her first steps. Or maybe no girl will want to, or rather, maybe no girl is capable of loving him. Initially, when he fulfills her wishes and brings her money, she may pretend to love him. Oh, how many women there are like that in our world. They're even ready to jump into marrying some oldster for the sake of his money. They've learned how to feign love. My son will grow up and meet some girl like that, and he'll keep fulfilling her wishes, and she'll keep telling him she loves him. But what will happen is he'll start talking about the need to create a space of love and plant a garden. Will she laugh at him? Will she call him crazy? Or will she understand? Maybe she'll understand, but maybe... No, it's better to prepare him for the worst. You see, Volodya, when you find this girl and you manage to make her healthy and very beautiful, absolutely the most beautiful, as you say, something might still happen that you know nothing about. The prettiest girls in our world aspire to become models and actresses and go into show business. They like it when all the men around them pay them compliments. So just imagine she wants to dazzle the public like a queen, and here you start proposing to create a space of love. Maybe she'll hear you out, but that'll be it. She'll leave you and go off somewhere where there's lots of bright lights and compliments and applause, and she could even, God forbid, leave you holding a baby. What will you do then? Volodya replied unhesitatingly, Then I shall build a space all on my own. First on my own, and then with the child that she leaves me, and together we shall preserve love in this space. Preserve it for whom? For myself, Papa, and for the girl, who, as you say, will go off into the world of artificial lights. Then why preserve a space of love specifically for her? Don't you see how naive you are in such matters? You'll have to look for another girl, and be more careful next time. If I look for another, then who will make the girl who left happy? Let anyone who wants to try to do that. It's not worth breaking your neck over. She's gone, and that's it. She will come back, and she will see the marvelous forest and garden, and I shall make it so that all the creatures serve and obey her. Every one and everything in this space will sincerely love her. She will probably come back all tired out. She'll wash herself in pure water and have a good rest. She'll become even more beautiful and will never want to leave her space of love ever again. Our space. She'll be happy. And the stars above her will shine brighter and happier than anywhere else. But if you, Papa, had not thought all this up, if you had not brought about such a situation with your thought about her leaving, then she would not have left. I brought it about? Yes, Papa. After all, you are the one that spoke about it. It was your thought. Man creates all kinds of situations with his thought, and this is what you have created. But your thought, can't it change the situation? Can't it counteract mine? You said it was quick, almost as quick as Anastasia's. It could counteract it. So go ahead, counteract it. I do not want my thought to run counter to yours, Papa. I shall seek out another way. Next part, how to bridge the gap. I could not talk with my son any longer. Everything I said he automatically checked against his concept, with which he easily distinguishes between truth and falsehood. He even discredited the conclusions of the historians outlined in the textbook. There was no question here of a father's superiority over his son. The conversation did not endow me with any more authority, and probably erased the authority I had before, thanks to Anastasia. Moreover, his unusual confidence in the power of thought frightened me and put a gap between us. We were so different. There was no father-son contact with the child. I could not feel in him my own birth son. On the whole, he seemed like a whole nother being to me. Oh, like another being to me. We didn't say a word to each other. I then remembered Anastasia's words. With children, one must be absolutely sincere and truthful. I even felt anger over the hopelessness of the situation. So I'm supposed to be sincere. I'm supposed to be truthful. I tried to be that way, but what came of it? Indeed, if I were to be completely sincere and truthful, then in the present situation, I'd have to resort to some pretty bad language. So I said, spilling it out all in one breath, Volodya, if everything is to be said absolutely sincerely, you and I cannot hope to have a father-son conversation. We are different, you and me. We have different concepts, information, and knowledge. I do not feel as though you are my son. I'm afraid to even touch you. In our world, a father can show affection to his son pure and simple, and even punish him or strike him for insubordination. But doing anything like that with you is something I can't even imagine. There is an unbridgeable gap between us. My outburst at an end, I sat silently, not knowing what to say next. Or how? I sat and looked at my little son, who seemed to be lost in thought. And what strange thoughts he has. At last he turned his curly little head in my direction and reinitiated the conversation, but this time I could feel a note of sadness in his voice. Is there some kind of gap between you and me, Papa? You say it is hard for you to accept me as your birth son? You spend a long time in that other world, where things are not exactly the same as here. I know, Papa, that parents there sometimes beat their children. Everything is a bit different there. And I've been thinking, Papa. Just a moment. He quickly got up and ran off a little ways. He returned carrying a branch with dry needles and handed it to me. Take this branch, Papa, and beat me with it. The way parents beat their children in that other world, which you spend so much time in. Beat you? Why? What have you thought up now? Pick it up, please. Why? Or leave it there now and pick it up later. Up to you. I know, Papa, that over there in the world you have to spend so much time in, parents beat only their own birth children. I am your birth son, Papa. You can beat me so you can feel yourself to be my birth father. Perhaps it will be easier for you that way. Only do not strike this arm or this leg. This arm will not feel pain, and this leg will not feel at all. They are still a little numb, but the rest of my body will feel pain. Only I probably shall not be able to cry the way children do. I have never cried in my life. Nonsense, sheer nonsense. Nobody ever beats their children, not even in the other world, as you call it, without a reason. Sometimes, yes, they punish them and give them a slight slap, but only when children do not obey their parents, when the kids don't do as they're supposed to. Yes, of course, Papa, when parents decide that their children have behaved improperly. Exactly. So, Papa, I want you to consider something in my behavior improper. What do you mean you want me to consider? When behavior is improper, it's clear to everyone that it's improper. It's not up to the parent to consider it proper or improper. Everyone should understand that it's improper. And the children who are beaten should understand? the children too. That is why they beat them, to make them realize that they were wrong. And they cannot understand this before being beaten? They can't, obviously. Even when the parents explain it to them, they cannot understand? They cannot, and that's why they're at fault. And the one who did not explain it to them, understandably, is not at fault? Well, no, that's... See, now you've thrown me off completely with your misunderstanding. Good. Now that I cannot understand, that means you can beat me, and then there will be no more gap between us. Why can't you understand? Punishment comes when, for example, let's say Mama tells you in no uncertain terms, Vladimir, don't do that. And in spite of her telling you not to, you go ahead and do what she told you not to. Do you understand now? I do. Have you ever done something Mama told you not to do? Yes, I have. Twice. And I will do it again. No matter how many times Mama Anastasia tells me not to do it. My conversation with my son continued to unfold quite differently from the way I had planned. There was no way I could present modern, civilized society, and, consequently, myself, to him in a favorable light. I got so upset over my son's latest arguments that I banged my fist on a tree trunk. I spelled it out to him, or perhaps more to myself. Not all parents, even in our world, punish their children by beating them. On the contrary, many of them look for a better system of child raising. I tried to find one, but it didn't work out. The last time I saw you here, you were still quite little. I wanted to hug you and squeeze you, but Anastasia said I shouldn't interrupt a child's thoughts, even to give him a pat on the head. She said a child's thought process is an extremely important matter, so I just watched you. You were always busy with something, and now I've come to the point where I don't even know how to talk with you. And today, Papa, you no longer want to give me a hug? I want to, but I can't. My head has been turned upside down with all of these systems of child raising. Then may I do it? May I give you a hug, Papa? After all, our thoughts are the same now. You? You want to hug me too? Yes, Papa. He took a step toward me. I gradually lowered myself to my knees. It felt as though my whole body was sinking to the ground. He grasped me firmly around the neck with one arm and pressed his head into my shoulder. I could hear his heart beating. My own heart was beating fast and irregularly. I started finding difficulty in breathing. It must have been just a few seconds, though, a minute at the most, before my heart began to even itself out, as though tuning in to the rhythm of another heart. My breathing became natural and gentle. In fact, my whole feeling of well-being suddenly changed. I wanted to say or cry out how wonderful everything is around, how splendid man's life is. Thank you to whoever thought up this world. And I felt like saying a whole lot of other good things. But the words came together only inside me. I stroked my son's hair and asked him, for some reason in a whisper, "Well, tell me, son, what could you possibly have done that your mama told you not to, and that you would do still, even now?" "It was once when I saw Mama Anastasia," he replied, also in a whisper to start with, without raising his head from my shoulder. "It was when I saw..." And at this point he detached himself from me and sat down on the ground and stroked the blades of grass with his little hands. The grass is always so green when it feels good. For a while he didn't say a word. Then he raised his head and continued talking.